Community and Wellbeing Officer. The Community and Wellbeing Officer represents students on issues affecting their well-being, such as health, finance, accommodation and security, as well as wider community issues. The Community and Wellbeing Officer is key to ensuring that students from a range of backgrounds and minority groups are represented within the university. They also ensure that students are represented fairly within the local community, liaising with both town and parish council officials.
And this is one of the final interviews for tonight. This is Rebecca Wilcockson. She is running for the Community and Wellbeing Officer. Rebecca, thank you very much for joining me here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you're a third-year sociologist then at Alcuin College?
Yes.
How have you sort of found your time at uni? How's your time at uni been so far?
I've truly really enjoyed it despite kind of COVID, and this is partly why I want to run for Wellbeing and Community Officer, because I really just want to give back.
That's brilliant, yeah. What makes you qualified for the role of Community and Wellbeing Officer?
So I have lots of experience. I've been disability officer, I've mental health charity worker, I've worked in like lots of schools, and I've worked for USU in a previous role, and I feel that all of my experience together means that I'm qualified for the role.
Your work as a mental health worker, that sounds really interesting. Could you talk a little bit more about that, please?
So currently I'm a Student Mind Ambassador, so my job is to train other students on their mental health and kind of how they can support their friends. So yeah.
On that note, you've made mental health a really big part of your manifesto here as you're running for Community and Wellbeing Officer. The first point, well, one of the interesting points that I saw was that you wanted to improve mental health services, in particular Open Door. Now, in December, Vision reported that £2 million would be spent on Open Door and disability services, both of which you clearly are very involved in. Do you think this £2 million investment was enough?
I think because of COVID, I think it's probably going to be more. I think there are going to be more students than that who are struggling. I also think it's about like making sure that all staff have the equipment to be able to train and to work out kind of new challenges, whether people are having even more challenges because of COVID and having COVID related kind of after effects because of poor mental health.
So in terms of the uni's plans and actions in terms of tackling the mental health crisis that's been caused by COVID, what do you think could have been changed?
So I think £2 million is definitely a start. I think it's also, again, speaking to students more, finding out exactly kind of the services that they would want, and seeing kind of what they would find useful. Again, it's all well and good giving them money, but kind of like making sure that it's properly being spent on stuff that students would find beneficial.
So obviously you said you were a DSO before, weren't you, a disabled students officer? Could you talk about your sort of time doing that and whether or not you saw any SABs in previous years who you look up to and sort of whose work you'd want to continue?
Certainly. So I really enjoyed my time. I did it from first year and then kind of I moved up the committee. Again, I really liked what Effie had done kind of with mental health and also kind of with, slightly off topic, but with the rent crisis and like trying to kind of make that, because again, now because of financial issues, that's like going to have another lasting effect on people and students' mental health.
The uni announced earlier this year, speaking of rent, their rent credit plans. What were your thoughts on that?
I think that's definitely a start. I think the thing for it is that, again, landlords are notorious kind of landlord to landlord, what they actually will or won't kind of do. Like personally, I know that I haven't been let off any rent, and that's just, for a student, it's not feasible to be able to not, especially given at a time like this where everyone is struggling financially, to not have kind of some sort of reduction is just really difficult.
Do you feel that USU, in light of this pandemic, has been doing enough to help students both on and off campus with their rent and accommodation costs?
I definitely think they have tried. I think, again, I think on campus they definitely have made much more of an effort and succeeded because it's much easier to control. I know that they've sent letters out. I know they've talked to like the university Minster, but again, kind of what they say will happen and what these people actually will do is kind of a different story.
What do you think could have been improved with the universities and USU's plan to help students with accommodation costs?
I think I think writing letters is all well and good. I think perhaps like more online petitions, more kind of online kind of protests to see kind of to make a real difference.
I just want to give a heads up to people watching this. The next line of questioning will involve topics of a nature of sexual violence. If you don't feel comfortable with that, please feel free to come back after this interview. We've got the 3 presidential debates, and I know that's what everyone's been looking forward to. So, yeah, on with the line of questioning. Within the past year, 2 PhD students who have been very heavily involved in the university, Faisal Demash and Joseph McEwen, 2 of them have been convicted of rape while working at the university. And it also came out that Joseph McEwen was allowed to continue working in the Department of Physics while he was under investigation. I wanted to ask you, Rebecca, do you think that the university has a problem in this area?
Yes, like I have worked again, like one of the other things that I've been doing is working with like the sexual liaison officer. We had a session for Amnesty about it. And I think the thing is that for both of those, I think it's kind of inexcusable because by having them on campus, you are putting students' mental health at risk.
You've highlighted that there is a problem. How do you think this problem could be fixed?
I think whenever allegations are taken in, they have to be considered massively. They have to be taken really seriously. And I think that there needs to be some sort of suspension period whilst the allegations are looked into so that it's fair for all parties.
On that note, I think it was earlier this year, this academic year, the university launched the report and support tool, I believe it's called. How do you think that system has gone in terms of its success? Do you think it's been successful? Do you think it could have gone further?
Again, I think it's a start. I think there needs to be kind of, especially for a subject that is as sensitive as this, getting people to come forward with allegations. And I know at other universities there's been issues with students not necessarily being believed, and making sure that kind of all students feel if they make an allegation, that not only they're going to be believed, but their academic careers are not going to be in jeopardy, and they feel fully supported throughout the process.
In your experience, do you feel that students are being supported at the university?
Again, I think not as much as they should. I think, again, it's such a difficult thing to disclose, and that perhaps having care more at the forefront and having people know signposted exactly where they can go when something like this happens. Because I think at the moment, I'm not entirely sure that all students would know who to go to.
Sorry, my camera just cut out there. So on that note, what do you think the uni could have done differently in the cases of Faisal Demash and Joseph McEwen?
I think, again, first and foremost, it's kind of suspending them whilst these investigations are going on and not allowing them to kind of carry on working, and making sure that any student who had disclosed that that something had happened to them felt fully supported throughout the process and felt that their allegations would be taken seriously.
And on that note, I'd like to thank Rebecca Wilcockson for joining me here today. Don't go anywhere. We've got the presidential debates coming up. It's the ones you've all been waiting for. Maeve Schaffer is going to be interviewing the first one, Luke Mason, in just a minute or so. So I'd like to thank Rebecca for joining me here, and I'd like to thank everyone here for joining us and being here for the whole time. I mean, it's been it's been really tough for everyone here. So just like to